This is the Zac Anesbury Show.
Welcome. Today's podcast clip comes from an interview with Julian Major from Visit Victoria.
Yes.
So I want to talk about, so you're obviously the head of research and insights for Visit Victoria. So I wanted to talk to you. So you do operate in the advertising space and how you measure it. Yeah. So what are the key measures that you're interested in from like your campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, from I suppose it depends on what angle you're looking at it through. I think the good thing about being at Visit Victoria is there's a lot of very smart marketing people here and quite knowledgeable about Ehrenberg Bass principles, and also our media agency has quite a good relationship, I believe, with Ehrenberg Bass with MediaCom. So I would say, one of the key things that we want to do from an advertising perspective is reach a lot of people, and it's incredibly relevant from a tourism perspective. We work in a mass category, the same rules of, the importance of light buyers, those same principles exist for us. So, understanding how to reach a lot of people is really important for us from a consumer research perspective. Having communications that are, really distinctive is really important and hugely challenging in the destination marketing space. There's a lot of tourism imagery that is very appealing, so I don't want to seem like I'm dismissive of it, but there's a lot of beaches with, aqua blue sort of water. There's a lot of, I suppose, similar imagery and similar styles that have become destination marketing tropes, and that's not what we want to be as Melbourne and as Victoria. We want to be really distinctive, and for people to see our work and immediately know that is not Visit Victoria, that is Melbourne, that is distinctively the Victorian brand. So reach a lot of people with distinctive communications, and talk to people about the experiences that they want to at that particular time. So so we do a lot of work around what people travel for, what experiences are trending, how to cut through, but it's not rocket science at the end of the day. Reach a lot of people with effective advertising.
Yeah, so like just getting a little bit deeper into that. So let's say, for example, you've reached 40% of, you're looking at intrastate travel at the moment, potentially for the next 3 months. I don't know, I'm just hypothetically. And you want to know what is my reach of the Victorian population, and how do you know whether that reach is effective or not? So how do you then determine whether they can? I don't want to prompt you too much, I suppose.
So what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, like how do you know whether they so they've seen an ad, they recognize it, they're like, oh, that's definitely a tourism ad, or I've seen this ad. How do you know that they know it's for potentially the region that you're advertising or for Visit Victoria?
So we run. The reach question is really interesting, because I suppose media measurement has never been more difficult with the fragmentation of so many different media types. We still have things like linear TV that are incredibly important and popular and good ways to reach large amount of consumers, but television as a category is more fragmented now. You've got connected TV and catch-up TV and streaming video on demand, and a lot of things changing in that category. So our media agency, I suppose, and all media agencies have a lot of challenges in trying to understand the best way to reach the most people, and having that reach and frequency balance really right. But because we really talk about the importance of fully integrated campaigns here. We have to run a lot of our own market research studies to understand that, not just that we have bought, X amount of impressions or TARPs or, whatever it is, but that's actually cutting through to recall or recognition, and that for the people that have that recognition, is the brand actually cutting through, and those sort of distinctiveness or branding metrics are, something that we think we can really control and constantly improve on. So we often have to run our own research studies to sort of broadly gauge, are we on the right track with this campaign? Is it doing those reach jobs, those distinctiveness jobs? Is the message cutting through? And a lot of other things like brands lift studies that you'll do through, particular channels. But the difficult thing with that is we know people can see destination. We don't just work with one media provider. Campaigns work best when they're integrated and when you have all the media working together. So that's why we do a lot of those campaign tracking studies, what we call. But yeah.
Yeah. So I guess two questions. So say you've used an integrated campaign and you've got a television ad that you're streaming, and do you know whether someone has recognized that ad? How do you tell whether they've recognized it from channel 10 or channel 9, or is it just television? But what about if that ad is also on YouTube at the same time and they've seen it on YouTube? How do you know whether they've seen it on YouTube or television? How do you try to figure that out?
Yeah, and I mean, that's what a lot of brand lift studies will try to do. So, there'll be, opportunities for those media channels to run surveys. They know who's been exposed to their ads. They know who hasn't been exposed to their ads. But at the same time, you could have seen that or similar pieces of communication across other media channels. So, those more granular questions, they're impossible to get from a survey environment. It's I would argue pointless even asking people, did you see this on catch-up versus linear TV, let alone the exact spot or the exact channels. So you have to figure out other ways to answer those questions. Brands lift sort of things are a part of that, but it's still there's still flaws with that methodology as well. It's a tricky world, ad measurement.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is very tricky, and also, so we both know that you would know because you're very well immersed in the Ehrenberg Institute. So the greatest effect on sales probability is the first time you hit a consumer, and the second time it's obviously increases, but it's not that linear path forward. So you obviously want to minimize frequency, which is basically you want to minimize duplicated reach. How do you account for duplicated reach? If you're getting, I'm not sure what Mediacom does with you, but if you're getting, here are my television stats, here are my owned Facebook stats, here are my earned Facebook stats because I'm paying for it. Paid versus owned. Do you account for things like word of mouth? And then how do you do all your duplication stuff for that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that work comes from a media planning level, with, Mediacom really analysing whatever sort of like single source data they have available to understand, audience overlaps. I'm sure there's ways to do that from a digital perspective as well, understanding how much certain channels overlap with others. But I suppose there's whilst there are scientific things that you can do within that, I suppose it's an art trying to develop a media plan that, has that right balance of reach and frequency. And, part of the role, I suppose, is also ensuring that the media types are working together. It's not always bad to have some frequency as long as it's not the same thing trying to do the same job. I don't think it's a bad thing if people see our TVC and then see some cooperative marketing that we'll do with an airline trying to sell tickets, for example. So they're both doing different jobs. They're both under an integrated campaign with the same look and feel. So I suppose it's about understanding how media channels work together, and for each media channel that you have in the mix, trying to do something that with the evidence that you have available, which is all nothing's perfect, that you're not going to have a high frequency approach.
Yeah. Just my last question on that sort of stuff is, so say you know that you have 20% reach from television, and then 10% reach from your Facebook. How do you account for the quality differences of them, right? So one of them is potentially it's a 30-second ad, and Facebook, some of their measures are, I've seen 50% of the screen or something like that for a couple of seconds. Are you counting like for like, or do you discount, or do you index, or how are you currently doing it?
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of necessarily creating one metric that you can compare them all for. I think you have to recognise the realities of each individual medium and the attention that you're going to get across all of them, and you have to do certain things with your creative in a Facebook environment where the volume's not going to be on when you're going to get, like an average of a second of people's attention, versus TVC, which still has ad avoidance. But it's a little bit different. So I'm not sure there's necessarily a numbers answer to that, but it's sort of recognizing that not all channels are viewed and consumed the same way. And you have to, create a media plan that is also, as integrated as it can be, so all those parts work together.
Hey guys, it's Zac Anesbury here with just a couple of quick reminders. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. There are plenty more interviews to come with some of the world's leading marketing academics and practitioners. You do not want to miss these. In the meantime, if you're looking for another way to connect, then follow me on Twitter at Zac Anesbury. That is ZACANESBURY, for my take on the marketing issues of the day.